I am going to go over prescription drug coverage today. It is not the most exciting information, but it's something everyone needs to know. And I feel like if you're on expensive medications, it can be a little more confusing than someone that's not on any, or maybe they're just on a couple of generics. But I'm going to hit on some main topics, and I do have a tip I want to give out at the end, so stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy this information. Thanks. The first thing you want to know about prescription drug coverage is there's two ways to go about getting this coverage. The first way is if you're filling in your gaps of Medicare with a Medicare supplement, which is also called Medigap, your drug coverage will come as a separate policy, usually even with it's a different insurance company than your Med Sup. That's how you get it if you go the Medicare supplement route. If you go the Medicare Advantage route, it is usually, 95% of the time included as part of the Medicare Advantage policy. Now, for those of you out there that take no prescriptions, or maybe just like one or two generic prescriptions that are very cheap, you may ask yourself or wonder, do I have to get a prescription plan? The technical answer is no, but you will probably want to because there is a lifetime penalty if you do not get prescription coverage and then end up wanting it later. And that late enrollment fee adds up over time, and once they implement it, will last lifetime. So it can be a pretty big deal. Usually you're better off go ahead and get the cheapest plan. That way you have it mid-year if you get put on a prescription, plus you're avoiding that lifetime penalty. So how do you go about finding out which of these plans is best for you and what drugs you take? Well, I have a few different ways that I can look this up, but the way that comes up best most often is actually just the Medicare.gov website. You can go on there and anyone can do it, even the customer. You can go on there and type in your own drugs, pick your pharmacy, and it'll sort it by least expensive to most expensive total cost for the year. So I do this kind of out as a courtesy to customers because I'm not real big into the prescriptions, but if someone wants help, I help them with this. Type in their drugs, put their pharmacy in there, and then see which plan comes back best. But I know in our county there's 22 drug plans, and it'll sort them in order based on your drugs and pharmacy from least expensive to most expensive. Now, no matter which drug plan you go with, all of the drug plans have the exact same 4 stages or phases, if you want to call it that. So I'm going to walk you through those real quick. The first stage is the deductible stage. This is the amount you have to pay out of pocket before the plan actually starts helping you out. The nice thing is usually if you take just generics, you can get by without having to pay this deductible, and you just kick into what is called the next stage, the initial coverage stage. This is what I call the copay stage, where every drug just has a specific copay that you pay when you go pick it up at the pharmacy. If you take expensive drugs, you may go over a retail cost of $4,430 and get kicked into what's called the coverage gap. Now on the coverage gap, you have to pay 25% of all the prescription costs until that $4,430 gets up to $7,000. If that happens, you go into the final stage, which is the catastrophic coverage. In this, you only pay about 5% or less for those drugs for the rest of the calendar year. If you are starting your first coverage towards the end of the calendar year, you have to be a little careful because you might have to pay that deductible twice. It resets every January 1st, so that is something to keep in mind also. If you get put on a new medication mid-year, the way it works is each insurance drug plan has their own formulary list. That formulary list is listed in the back of their documents of each plan, and it lists all the drugs out there that they cover, and it rates them in a different drug tiers. So there's usually tiers 1 through 5, tier 1 being the generic preferred generics, and tier 5 being specialty, which are the really expensive ones. So what they'll do is look up that drug that you got put on mid-year, and it'll say what tier they rate it at. And let's just say it's a tier 2. Maybe their tier 2s through that drug plan cost a $7 copay each month. So they'll just look it up and see what it costs, and then at the end of the year, you can always change plans for a January 1st start date. The price of these plans can vary a lot. They usually go anywhere from about $7 up to over $100 a month. So don't just get a postcard in the mail and go with it because it says it has a $0 deductible. You may pay way more, closer to that $100 a month, if you have that lower deductible, and then you're actually paying way more throughout the course of the year. So make sure to have me or yourself, or maybe even a pharmacist, look up your drugs individually and make sure you're on the best plan. Finally, the little tip that I wanted to give you guys at the end here is for anyone still on an employer plan, or sometimes even their individual plan under 65, if you are planning on getting the shingles shots, the vaccines, there's usually 2 different shots you have to get for that. I recommend usually getting it through your employer plan. It's usually a lot cheaper. It's not that Medicare does not cover the shingles shots, it's that it's a brand name drug, so you do have to hit those big deductibles at the beginning of the year. So someone that's on generics that has not hit any of their deductible, they're going to have pretty much the whole 2 shots paid out of pocket. So it can be pretty pricey. I would look into it before you get off the employer plan, but just something to keep in mind. Have a great day.